Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, war with Iran. Will we be seeing war with Iran anytime soon? Well, Israel is talking about war. The United States said it's prepared, and the United Kingdom apparently is also prepared. Now, who wants war? The United States is saying, Israel, do not attack Iran without consulting with us. They're saying there's a possibility that Israel might attack without telling anyone. The United Nations nuclear watchdog apparently said a couple of days ago that Iran the report came out and it said that Iran might be working on some nuclear bombs. We don't know. Iran is saying no. Iran is saying that these reports were fabricated, and the United Nations agency is basically playing games on the side of Israel and the United States. So what is going on? Now, of course, the latest thing with Israel is Sarkozy, the French president, was overheard telling Obama that he's fed up with Netanyahu. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, Sarkozy told Obama that he's fed up with him. He's a liar. And Obama, poor Obama, he, of course, he did not tell Sarkozy his opinion of Netanyahu. Of course, most of us know what Obama's opinion of Netanyahu. But of course, because of the Zionist lobby in the United States, Obama cannot tell you what he thinks of Netanyahu. He tried, but the Zionist lobby, including the American Congress, that is, they jumped on Obama for not being as friendly to Netanyahu as he should be. So Obama's answer was to Sarkozy when he told him that he's fed up with Netanyahu, that he's a liar. Obama's answer was, well, I have to deal with him every day. So I guess that was more as saying, yeah, lucky you, you don't have to deal with him every day, but I have to deal with that liar every day. He did not tell Sarkozy that, no, Netanyahu was not a liar. And the apologists in the United States, the Netanyahu apologists in the United States, and there are tons of them out there, they got on Obama's case for not defending Netanyahu. Well, they took it as Obama agreed with Sarkozy, even though Sarkozy actually is more of he was a Mossad agent, not a full-fledged agent. They call him Synonym, which is a Mossad collaborator before he was the president of France. Now, Netanyahu is a liar. Of course, everybody knows Netanyahu is a liar. Netanyahu will tell you one thing, and he will do another. Netanyahu, on one side of his mouth, he will say that he wants peace with the Palestinians. From the other side of his mouth, he will say or announce that he's building 60,000 settlement units around Jerusalem. 60,000 apartments, that is. That's what a settlement unit is. So 60,000 families he wants to put around Jerusalem on a land that he is telling the Palestinians, come on, let's talk peace. Now you know he's lying, and he's actually talking from both sides of his mouth. But again, poor Obama, was that a setup by Sarkozy to talk about that? And while he had journalists around him? So did Sarkozy know that that mic was actually open when he talked? You know, there was an open mic once in 2007, I believe, when the Prime Minister of Israel at that time, Ariel Sharon, told Perez, when Perez told him about what America will do, and he said, don't worry about America. We, the Jewish people, control America. That was said on open mic, but not too many media outlets actually picked up on that, because that's not something that they want the American people to know. They don't want the American people to know that it is Israel actually that controls America. Sharon said it. We know it. On this program, we have been telling you that for the last 10 years, who actually controls who. Unfortunately to people in the United States, and unfortunately for people in the Middle East, actually, and their governments. They think that Israel is a puppet of the United States. They think that Israel is controlled by the United States, and they tell Israel to attack, and Israel will attack. But actually, we have been telling them it is the other way around. So Obama and Sarkozy, they are in trouble, both of them, for the remarks that were overheard. And we have a bunch of pictures, actually, for Obama and Sarkozy, and different, from different times, but they were, the G20 meeting was in France last week, and that's when the comments were made. And if we can show some of these pictures that we have for Obama and Sarkozy, that would be nice, so people will know who Sarkozy is. Thank you. That's actually an older picture. We wanted to just kind of play fun with that one. We see where Sarkozy's eyes are, and we move on to other pictures. And that is, of course, Obama and Sarkozy with their wives. Probably Obama's telling him, you got me in deep trouble, mister, and Sarkozy laughed. Now, both of them are, that's not from this G20 meeting, actually. So we wanted to have fun with those two presidents and their wives. That's why we're showing those two pictures, the ones before. And the G20, this is actually in this G20 meeting that we are talking about, and it's at this meeting when Sarkozy actually made the remarks about Netanyahu. So these three are the talk of the town and in the media circles, where Netanyahu, of course, he's not laughing, he's not too happy with that, but Sarkozy is not really in trouble, because Sarkozy will do anything for Israel. It is Obama in the hot seat, even though it was Sarkozy who actually made the remarks that Netanyahu was a liar. We have a couple of videos just to kind of make this story actually sink even more, and you will understand what we are talking about. And when we show you this, after we come back, we are going to actually talk about the effect of what was said to what is happening in the world now. Let's play these couple of videos that we
have. He's a liar. And Obama, according to a French interpreter, said, you're fed up with him, but I have to deal with him even more often than you. Again, this is according to Reuters. We're trying to independently confirm that, and the president's comments were translated by a French interpreter. But this is significant, Kira, because it's embarrassing, and it's embarrassing at a pivotal time. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney was asked about this aboard Air Force One a short time ago as the president heads to Philadelphia to press his jobs message. He said he wouldn't comment on this specific conversation, but what he did do was highlight the president's support of Israel, and then point out that the U.S. and France were not on the same page during a recent vote to allow the Palestinians membership in a UN agency. But this is a pivotal time, as I mentioned. The peace process stymied, but also you have the issue of Iran as the IAEA, the UN nuclear watchdog, releasing a report today saying they made significant progress towards a nuclear program, a weapons-grade nuclear program, and you have all of these countries that need to work together on that, Kira, and this is embarrassing, and now there's questions about how this might impact that process moving forward.
All right, we'll follow it. Brianna Keeler at the White House. Brianna.
Play the other one.
To be private, but they went public about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Reporters who covered the G20 summit last week are coming forward now saying they overheard French President Nicolas Sarkozy and President Obama making some candid and not very flattering comments about the Israeli leader. Let's get some reaction from Jerusalem. Our own Leland Vittert is there now. Leland?
John, it is so rare when you get to hear what world leaders really think after the cameras stop snapping all those formal pictures and they actually get down to talking about everybody. French President Sarkozy called the Israeli Prime Minister a liar, and then President Obama said, well, if you think it's tiring to deal with him and you're fed up with dealing with him, I have to deal with him every day. And obviously that is not what they wanted to have broadcast to the world. It's been a legendary, icy relationship between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu, but that icy relationship after these comments, you might say, could go to the temperature of dry ice right now. And this is a horrible, horrible time for a situation like this to happen as Israel has continued to get more and more isolated around the world. French President Sarkozy has been very critical of Prime Minister Netanyahu over the settlements issue, the building of settlements in the West Bank, the breakdown of the peace talks. And Israel is also becoming more isolated even within the European Union. The German chancellor canceled a visit here, saying that Prime Minister Netanyahu was untrustworthy as someone to deal with in this kind of situation. Where do we go from here? Remember, the past week, John, we've been talking about the possibility of an Israeli strike on Iran. What you need to have in that kind of situation is a coordination where world leaders, the Prime Minister of Israel, the President of the United States, the President of France, can all talk candidly, openly, and hopefully at least trust each other to tell the truth. And from this situation, you get the feeling they don't trust each other. As for the Israeli Prime Minister, I talked to his office earlier today. They're not extending out any olive branches. They're also not adding any fuel to the fire. They're simply here saying no comment and let the chips fall where they may. Back to you.
Those unvarnished comments, pretty interesting to hear. Leland Vittert, thank you. And we're going to be having...
Okay. So now, things don't actually work that way when we're talking about governments and when we're talking about presidents, because normally a president is reflecting the views of his government, reflecting the views of actually a whole country. So is Netanyahu untrustworthy? That means Israel is untrustworthy. And if Sarkozy is saying this about Netanyahu being untrustworthy and Obama agreeing with him, because, when you say, well, look, I have to deal with the guy every day. So he agrees with him that he is untrustworthy. And if Netanyahu is untrustworthy and Israel is untrustworthy, now, Netanyahu just had 20 times or 30 times standing ovations in the halls of Congress in the United States. This is an untrustworthy that our own president thinks he's untrustworthy, and the French president thinks he's untrustworthy. Then Israel's policy is untrustworthy. Israel is saying they want to attack Iran. So what is going on here? Why isn't our government actually telling us that Israel is untrustworthy? Instead, our government, and when our government was asked about this incident, right away on the plane actually coming back on Air Force One, reporters asked our spokesman, and he said that our commitment to Israel is unshakable. What does that mean? What does that mean? Our commitment to Israel is unshakable. It is that President Obama's commitment to Israel's security is number one. Why is it that we cannot say what we think of these prime ministers of Israel? How come we cannot? Now, you know what happened. The media jumped on Obama. The Republicans jumped on Obama. And even his own party jumped on him for not defending Netanyahu. The guy is a liar, but yet politics says that you need to defend him because he is the Israeli prime minister. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Now, Israel is about to drag this country into yet another war, a war that we do not need to be in. Just because Israel wants to be the superpower in the Middle East, well, it cannot be a superpower unless it destroys everybody around it. Now, Israel cannot destroy everybody around it, so it brings the United States to destroy them for it. Now, Israel is trying to put pressure on Iran, actually, so Iran can step away from the situation in Syria. And once Iran steps away from the situation in Syria, then Syria becomes an easy target for Israel. And of course, it brings in the United States to do the dirty work for it. Israel has nuclear bomb since the 60s. Israel, in the words of one of their professors who actually work on these strategic things for Israel, a few years back, he said that Israel has targeted and has missiles targeting every European capital. That's in their own words. Israel has been threatening war on Iran for the last 10 years, since 2003 at least. Okay? Iran has not threatened Israel. Iran has not had war with its neighbors for the last 200 years. Now, Iran, and we do have a picture of Iran, just to see what Iran, now this is here, Israel is on the left-hand side, and it is targeting Iran with missiles and jet fighters. But yet, Iran, we have another picture to show you the military bases around Iran. Well, actually, this is the nuclear sites in Israel. That's the Dimona nuclear sites. But we do have another picture of Iran surrounded by military bases. And it is basically American military bases around Iran. If we can put that picture. Okay, once we get, no. It's a picture with a bunch of American flags around on the map. If you can find that picture so we can illustrate this point that we are making here. But if you can't, it's no big deal. Okay. But if you look at a map of Iran, Iran actually is surrounded by countries where the United States has military. You know, Iran is surrounded by Iraq. Iran is surrounded by Afghanistan. Iran is surrounded by many countries on its borders where the United States has military bases. So, Iran is not a threat to nobody. Iran is not a threat to the world. Israel has the one who has actually been engaged in many wars throughout the Middle East with its neighbors. Israel is the one that has nuclear bombs. Israel is the one that has threatened to use those nuclear bombs that it has. Israel has not signed the non-nuclear proliferation treaty while on the other hand, Iran did. Israel did not sign that. John Kennedy, the American president who lost his life mysteriously, and unfortunately the United States is not interested in pursuing his killer, even though Oswald was nothing but a patsy. But yet, the United States is not interested in the death of its own president, when all hands is pointing towards Israel for many reasons. The nuclear issue, that Kennedy wanted to stop Israel from pursuing a nuclear bomb. The Federal Reserve Bank, which would have put a big dent in Israel's finances. And the Zionist Organization of America, which basically rules the political scene in the United States, or ruled the political scene in the United States at that time and after his death. So no one will be investigating that organization. They done away with that organization because he wanted them to actually file as an agent of a foreign country, because they were an agent of Israel. After his death, so it will not be pursued in any investigation of killing the American president JFK. They done away with that, and the president of that organization, the Zionist Organization of America, actually, or council, I'm sorry, the Zionist Council of America, actually, they formed the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, known as AIPAC, and we know, as we talked last week and in many programs, on this program actually, and many times on this program, we have talked about AIPAC and how much AIPAC's influence is on our politicians. You know, we showed you some of the pictures last week where every politician would have to go and actually pray at the wall in Jerusalem. And we've showed you many pictures of our politicians praying at the wall. We have them. We can show them if we can get to them. Okay, now we've shown you a bunch of these pictures last time where our politicians would have that's just to show you the influence of Israel in our politics. When the Jewish population of the United States is less than 2%. It's less than 2%. But yet we see our politicians and those who want to be like Cain. We showed you that picture last week. But he had to go and actually degrade himself. Look at this. That's pathetic. That is pathetic. When we have to kiss these people butts just to be elected or be considered. Now, of course, he does not stand a chance now of being elected because of all the scandals that's surrounding him. And I guess from his own party, because his own party actually thinks that, you know what, this guy needs to go. So they're removing him with all these charges of 14 and whatever years ago. Anyway, going back to Iran. You know, the Iranians have always stated, and they stated that, look, this report by the United Nations, the International Nuclear Agency, that it is wrong. It's been fabricated. And it's not that we are, or, you know, the world is not strange to the fabrication of these reports. We have seen our own fabrication of reports about Iraq with the weapons of mass destruction. We have seen where our own Secretary of State, Colin Powell, when he went to the United Nations, showing them pictures of the mobile labs. You still remember that picture, and you still remember Colin Powell sitting there at the United Nations showing the whole world pictures and saying, this is what the Iraqi president has, Saddam Hussein has, and the whole world, of course, even though they did not believe him, but you believed him and you said, yeah, okay, let's go and kill these Iraqis. And it worked. So now they are saying that, oh yeah, these reports, even though Iran is saying, look, we are not working on nuclear bombs, but when you really come to think about it, think about how this world is so screwed up. Israel has nuclear bombs. Israel has threatened Iran for the last 7 or 8 years. The United States is surrounding Iran with military bases. The United States has been proven that it had used a nuclear bomb, and it would probably use it again if it had to. And the United States has many nuclear missiles and many nuclear bombs. The United States had threatened Iran. European countries, and the latest is UK, saying that they are prepared for war with Iran. They have nuclear bombs. And yet, with all these people threatening Iran, and I'm not condoning Iran having nuclear bombs, I think this world needs to be rid of all nuclear bombs, but yet we see that countries with nuclear bombs threatening Iran, and we're telling Iran, look, don't even think about getting nuclear bomb. Does that make sense to you? Now, again, I'm not condoning Iran having nuclear bomb, but when you have everybody around you threatening you with nuclear war, with annihilation, yet we're telling Iran, look, we can threaten you, but you cannot defend yourself. And then, now you have Israel is threatening Iran, and the United States is saying, don't go to war with Iran, because you know, if Israel attacks Iran, the United States will be dragged into that war. And it's not going to be pretty. We're not talking about Libya. We're not talking about Iraq. You know, Saddam Hussein went through 12 years of sanctions and boycott before the United States went and destroyed his army and killed him. Now we're talking about Iran. That's a totally different animal. Iran has a lot more weapons and sophisticated weapons than Iraq had. So Iran, if Iran hits, it's not going to be pretty. Personally, I don't think Israel is going to attack Iran. Now, everybody has been talking about attacking Iran, and all kind of experts in the United States, military experts, political experts, they have been talking about attacking Iran. The United States ready to attack Iran this month and that month. They were talking about it even when George Bush was the president. And I was telling them, no, it's a game. It is a game to actually make Iran look like this horrible power there in the Middle East, so they can scare the Arabs with Iran, and so they can change the status quo in the Middle East towards Israel. When you create another monster there, it doesn't matter if it's a real monster or a virtual monster. And in this case, they created now the real monster in the Middle East is Israel, with its nuclear bombs, with its bombers. Israel is the one that has proven time and again that it does not care about civilians, as we have proven to you on this program. It's in their principles. Because in the Jewish principles, and it's there, you can go and find it. We're not being hateful here, and we're not showing hatred towards the Jewish religion, but they're in the words of their rabbis, that even a Palestinian child being born he is a target for Israel, and we have seen them doing it. We have seen Israel killing children because they were told by their rabbis that it's okay to kill children. That was their religious doctrine that they have said time and again. Because they said that this Palestinian child is going to grow up to fight Israel, therefore, it's okay in their religious book to actually kill that Palestinian child. That's the kind of mentality that Israel has. That's the kind of mentality that these people have. So they're not going to actually, there's nothing going to hold them back from using their nuclear bomb on anyone. So we have a real monster in the Middle East. That is Israel, that wants to be the superpower in the Middle East, that is only one step from being a superpower in the world. Don't think the clean break documents that we have been talking about in the last 10 years, the clean break document, that is to make Israel a superpower in the Middle East. They want Israel to get away from underneath, because people in the world think that Israel is a puppet of the United States, even though we know, you and I, we know that it is the United States that is being controlled by that little Israel. Through AIPAC, through money, through media, they control our politicians. We know that lesson. We don't want to go through it. But so now you have a real monster in the Middle East. We need to create another virtual monster in the Middle East so these countries in the Middle East can be scared of this virtual monster and oppose him. When you create this big threat that is supposedly threatening Saudi Arabia and the other Arab Gulf countries, then these Gulf countries going to find no one in that area that is capable of actually destroying Iran is Israel or Israel. So when you create this monster, then the eyes of the Arab countries are directed to that, and that's exactly what is happening now. Go in the streets of the Gulf countries there. Go in the streets of United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia or Qatar or any of these countries there. They will tell you that the real enemy is not Israel. Even though for years and years and years and years they were saying the enemy is Israel, you go there, they're going to tell you the enemy is Iran. So what Israel is doing is actually playing in the hands, well, actually is breaking the Arab countries in to start looking at it as the guy who's going to destroy their enemy, because they want to create this enemy state for the Arabs. Now they tried to do that, and they have been trying to do that. They did not succeed until now. Until now, because they have destroyed the Arab countries around them, and it is time now to wrap this serpent around the Middle East, because it's destroying these countries one at a time. It destroyed Libya. They go into Sudan. They go into Yemen. They go into Syria. And once they finish wrapping that up, then no more countries in that region that can actually stand up and oppose Israel. Now, they're doing all that with our money, with our blood here, with American blood and American money, because the United States is fighting these wars for Israel. Even if Israel attacks Iran and drags this country into war with Iran, who do you think is going to be fighting? Who do you think, these submarines and our destroyers with the Tomahawk missiles that we are going to be shooting at Iran. The problem is we are not in control of our destiny. It is Israel that is in control of our destiny. Now, we talked about the G20 meeting where they supposedly met trying to find a way out of this horrible economic conditions that the world finds itself in. Just imagine if we did not have to fight a war in Iraq for Israel, spending over $1 trillion just on that war alone. Imagine if we did not have to actually do that. We would have over $1 trillion that we can do a lot of things with. So we go from one war to another war to another war for Israel. Actually, the G20, they agreed on one thing. You know, they could not figure out exactly what to do with Greece. Now we have Italy going down the drain. And you know, when you start having these economies now, this G20, it's supposed to be like the superpowers of the economies, the emerging economies. Well, the only emerging economy actually is the Chinese. Now, all these people, all these powers, going to be borrowing money from the Chinese. So you can see where the superpower status of the United States, where it's going and where it's headed in the near future, probably. The only thing that they actually agreed on, and they were able to agree on, is to close the loopholes for people trying to take money out of their country into all these offshore banks to into other countries so they don't pay taxes in their respective countries. So they agreed that, hey, look, we don't want these secret accounts offshore in different countries to protect people's money, trying to hide money to escape paying taxes on. That's it. That's very much the only thing they agreed on. The other stuff is they agreed on, like banking and stuff. But if you really read between the lines, it's a big one power controlling all the money in the world. When this power controls the money in the world, then they control your life. They control your economy. They control the future of this country. And that's where the problem is. We are no longer, we think we are free. We think we have democracy. We think we have freedom. We don't. Because if we can't even decide who our enemies are and who our friends are, we are forced to think that Israel is our friend when Israel is actually our enemy. Israel is the enemy of the United States, but yet our politicians in the highest office, they say our priority is Israel. They say our priority is Israel, the security of Israel, as if the security of Israel is more important than the security of the United States. Because every one of our presidents, when it comes to Israel, we are committed to the security of Israel. Why? What about the security of this country? Why are we committed to the security of Israel when Israel is the only country in the Middle East that actually spied on the United States? Israel is the only country in the Middle East that actually spied on the United States, that stole secrets from the United States. Jonathan Pollard's still in jail, that Israel's been trying to free for a long time. He had stolen a whole room full of documents. Jonathan Pollard, he's a Jewish American, but his priority was Israel's first. As it is, unfortunately, as it is the priority of many of our politicians and many of people who become in decision-making positions with our government. Their priority is the security of Israel. Many of them were asked, and the first thing they tell you, you know, with this thing with Sarkozy, the first thing that Obama said, I'm committed, when they asked him, it's like, hey, look, you know, was this a trap? I'm saying, if this was a trap for Obama. But yet the first thing he said when he was asked about this conversation with Sarkozy, the only thing he was able to say is, I'm committed to the security of Israel. Because he knows, unless he's committed to the security of Israel, probably the media is not going to help him get elected. So, the security of Israel is basically the one at play here. And unfortunately, that's the country we live in. That's the country we live in. I think we've talked about this last week. We've talked about how horrible it is when another country is actually controlling our decisions, when other countries is actually controlling our politicians and controlling the way to become a politician in this country. 60,000 units that Israel wants to build around Jerusalem at a time, you see, this is, I mean, even though even our State Department, Hillary Clinton, when Israel a couple of days ago announced that they will build 60,000 units, even our own State Department said, look, that's going to be a problem. But yet you don't know. You know, when Ariel Sharon mentioned that we, the Jewish people, control this country, you did not see Fox and everybody, but everybody's talking about Sarkozy and Obama. So you say one thing about Israel, and all of a sudden, we have a problem. All of a sudden, those who talked about Israel have a problem. Most of the times, they don't have a job to come to or to go to. Unfortunately, and this is the thing that we must do, we do not need, again, you know, personally, I do not think that Israel is going to attack Iran. They're saying they're going to do it before Christmas. I'm still maintaining that no, Israel will not attack Iran. This is just maneuvering for getting Iran actually out of Syria, because Iran and Syria has a defense pact, and now Syria is on the butcher's block. To get Iran away from it, they want to threaten Iran with war. And I don't know if it's going to work or not. It might work. But one thing for sure, once Syria is gone, then they will probably go and destroy Iran, at least have a regime change, because that's what they want. They want to change the regimes in these countries. They want to change the regime in Syria, so they can have one that is more friendly with Israel. Remember what happened with Sudan? When they broke the country in half, and South Sudan, you know, the people there still living miserably, as miserable or even worse than they were before they went in there and destroyed it. What's the first thing that this country did? Of course, Israel recognized South Sudan. South Sudan was one of those 14 countries to vote no. Remember last week when we talked about the UNESCO vote with the United Nations? South Sudan was one of those countries that voted no to the for the Palestinians to have a full membership with UNESCO. Now, this is a country that was created by the Zionists. And if you noticed, many of you still remember Sudan and South Sudan, because the media was bombarding you with what these horrible people are doing in Sudan. See, the media can show you anything, and they know that. You see, 90% of people, they depend on these images they see on TV. Takes 2 weeks, just 2 weeks of bombarding you with one story, and before you know it, you think towards the lines that they want you to go. They wanted South Sudan, they wanted to cut it from Sudan, they did. Now they want to do the same thing with these Arab countries. They want to remove these regimes and replace them with regimes close to Israel. Well, at least they will look differently at Israel. You know, with Libya, actually the vice commander of the military council in Tripoli, a couple of days ago, he has an apartment in Ireland, and his wife lives in Ireland. So his apartment was broken into. They called the police and told the police that they lost some money, that they had $200,000 he was given by the CIA, by the United States Secret Service. Some people broke into his apartment and stole that money. And this is what they reported. They reported that they had lost $200,000. The $200,000 that he was given. And this is the commander, the vice commander of Tripoli Military Council, the people who rule in Libya now. What was he doing given $200,000 by the CIA? Who else received money from the CIA to fight the war? Well, not war, but to actually get rid of Gaddafi. Who else did they pay? Probably most of them, because most of them were receiving money from this supposedly transitional council in Libya that supposedly removed Gaddafi. Of course, you know the truth, that they did not remove him, but it was the United States, France, England, and Germany with their bombers that actually removed Gaddafi from power. And these people, but TV stations were, or TV reporters, were showing you the images of these guys saying Allahu Akbar and destroying and killing. They didn't show you NATO bombers up there destroying the hell out of Libyans, including children, and including those same civilians that Obama said he's going to go to Libya to protect. So where are you from all of this? Where are you from all of this? Nowhere. You just continue to listen to Fox Network and CNN. That's if you listen to it. But you see, that's what they are actually counting on. They're counting that you not do your job, that you just busy, just get busy with whatever you're doing, and don't worry about what we are doing. Anyway, that's the world we live in, and unfortunately, this is the what's going to happen is with Syria, we're going to continue seeing blood, people being killed. That regime will end up being destroyed just like the other regimes. And the media here does not show you the real truth about what's going on in the Middle East. And like we actually said, here many times, there's really not much you can do about it because, this snake, this serpent, that had wrapped its body around the United States, around Europe. See, it took a long time for this to happen. It did not happen overnight. Now this serpent is making that circle, and the head right now, it's in Jerusalem. So once that is complete, it's done for the United States. It is done for Europe a long time ago. And you will be welcoming the power of Zionism, the power of the Zionist. Just like our governments are basically controlled, it's not just the United States government, Canadian government, Australian government, Western government, and now we have the governments in the Middle East that are going to be controlled by the same snake, serpent. They will not rest until they actually destroy the Islamic Republic in Iran, the government in Iran, because they want a government similar to what the Shah's government was. They call it democracy, because Islamic Republic in Iran, it is not democracy in their eyes, and therefore they want to remove the regime. They remove the regimes everywhere else in the Middle East. They change them, except in that Gulf Cooperation area. They call it the Gulf Cooperation Council, which they're adding other countries to it to protect them for right now, until it is time to actually be replaced by other regimes that will be more friendly. It's not with the United States, because all of these regimes, even the Gaddafi regime, was very friendly with the United States. Even Saddam Hussein did not have a problem with the United States. Remember, Saddam Hussein actually went to war against Iran for the United States to protect United States and its interest in the Middle East. That's why we very much told Saddam, go fight with these guys, because we don't want the revolution to spread over to other countries, because that was a United States interest. But now, when it came to the interest of Israel, even with Iraq, we allowed, when we destroyed Iraq, that was like the front lines against Iran and the spread of the revolution. We destroyed that wall because Israel wanted to be destroyed, and therefore we are destroying our own front lines, because remember, Iraq was serving the interest of the United States. But when the interest of Israel supersedes the interest of the United States, we do what Israel wants, even if it means we destroy our own front lines. And that's exactly what happened in Iraq. Because Iraq was standing in the front, because we did not want the Iranian revolution to cross over to Iraq and to Syria and to Bahrain and to the other Arab countries. So we supported Iraq in its war against Iran. But now the formula has changed, because the destruction of Iraq and Saddam Hussein was an Israeli objective in its own right, and therefore our objectives and our interest as Americans, it did not matter. Just break them and allow Israel's rights. Anyway, that's very much, I'm looking at 37 seconds. You're telling me 2 minutes, so which one is right? Correct. Okay, well, that's all we have. And actually, so we will see you next Thursday, same time, same place. All we have time to say good night we will see you next week. Go do the right thing, as you always do, probably. I don't know. I don't even know what the right thing anymore, but go do something. Anyway, see you next week.